The divisional round matchup between the Commanders and Lions is a fascinating one. On one side, you have the Detroit Lions, one of, if not the most talented rosters in the entire league, but a roster that's been decimated by injuries all season. Their defense is barely holding on week after week, and yet they keep winning. Week in and week out, the Lions find ways to win. Between one of the best offenses in the league and one of the best coaching staffs, the Lions have become the poster boy for how to properly rebuild a franchise from the ashes to a Super Bowl contender. At 15-2, the Lions just enjoyed their best regular season in franchise history and locked up the 1 seed for the very first time. And now they look to complete their story with another deep playoff run and a trip to the Super Bowl. On the other side, the Washington Commanders had minimal expectations coming into the year. With a new coaching staff, new rookie quarterback, even new ownership, Commanders football had been completely reset to usher in a new era. But while expectations were low, reality quickly became much more exciting. The Commanders might not have the best defense, best personnel, anything, but they have an electric young superstar quarterback that has near single-handedly willed the team to the postseason and their first playoff win since 2005. The only question facing the Commanders now is how far can Jaden Daniels take them? There's a lot of information out there on this matchup, stats, lines, odds, you name it. If you want content on this game, or any other playoff game for that matter, there's plenty out there for you to find. But here, I'm going to try and simplify it. I'll give you the most important notes so that you can be informed on what to look for when these teams take the field on Saturday. This is a complete beginner's guide to Commanders at Lions. In a lot of ways, this matchup is going to feel pretty familiar to the Commanders, despite the fact that these teams have not played since week 2 of the 2022 season. But why is that? You see, Washington is built on the premise that their defense might allow more points than they might like each and every week, but overall, they're going to outscore you. They will outscore all their problems. Now, they aren't exactly efficient at doing so, but what the Commanders do differently than a lot of teams is they have a lot of plays. They play a lot, and I don't just mean that they play a lot of games, I mean in those games, they have a lot of offensive plays. And their goal is, even though they might not be as efficient as most teams in the league, they will eventually be able to generate explosives just with sheer volume of plays, and that will make up for any efficiency deficiencies that they have. So at the end of the game, you might think that your defense did a pretty good job in holding the Commanders in check, and they'll still put up 30 points on you. So what exactly does it mean that the Commanders play a lot? Well, for starters, they run no huddle more than anyone else in the league. And they also ran the second most plays in the league in general. Now, you might think that having a lot of offensive plays might result in a lower time of possession, or you might think that their defense was spectacular and was able to keep getting the offense on the field, but it really isn't like that. And this is really where the efficiency problem can come into focus. Against the Buccaneers in the wildcard round, the Commanders had 66 more total yards in the game, despite the fact that they ran 25 more plays. That's right, the Commanders had 69 total plays compared to the Bucs' 44. Yeah, that's pretty insane. I think that's perfectly encapsulated by a 17-play drive the Commanders had. That drive took 9 minutes off the clock, which, I mean, dude, like, if you're the Bucs, how are you ever going to win a time of possession battle when the other team has a 17-play drive? The Lions, by contrast, are a lot more similar to the Bucs in that they win by being more efficient than the other team. They want to control the clock, yes, but they want to have a higher yards per play so that they don't have to use as many plays throughout the course of a game. The Lions were 6th in the league this season in seconds per snap, which is essentially exactly what it sounds like, just the amount of time between plays. The Lions averaged 28.4 seconds between plays, which, for reference, the Bucs led the league at 28.8. Now, the way the Lions are going to try to win with efficiency and try to control the clock is to do what the Bucs failed to do against Washington and run the ball effectively, consistently. Now, Tampa Bay figured out way too late in that wildcard game that running the ball was the key to success. And more specifically, having long, sustained scoring drives and keeping Jaden Daniels off the field is the key to success. Now, the Lions are better equipped to run the ball and run the ball effectively, even with the expected absence of Kevin Zeitler at right guard and rookie Christian Mahogany starting in his place. The Lions should be able to move the ball. This season, Jahmyr Gibbs broke out as a true superstar. He had 1,929 total yards, 20 total touchdowns. He's a stud. He's a legit superstar. And David Montgomery is also expected to return to the lineup, bringing his more blue-collar style of running with him. Now, contrary to what people outside of Detroit and outside of Lions fans will tell you, Montgomery being back is actually a very good thing for Jahmyr Gibbs. It's because the Lions' whole philosophy on offense and their whole thing with running the ball is Montgomery is the hammer and Gibbs is, I don't know, like a bolt of electricity. You see, the Lions' plan is for Montgomery to come in and wear defenses down so that Gibbs can stay fresh, and then those Gibbs carries are a lot more explosive because defenses just can't keep up with him because they're so worn down. So you're going to see in this game, you might see a lot more David Montgomery than you might expect, or maybe even want to see if you're a Lions fan, but it's going to pay off because by the time the fourth quarter rolls around, the Commanders are not going to be able to contain Gibbs. If you want an example of this, please go watch the Lions and Buccaneers divisional round game from last season, where by the time the fourth quarter rolled around, Gibbs was fresh, the Bucs defense was not, and it led to Gibbs getting a breakaway touchdown towards the end of the game, which ended up being huge. And the Commanders' front is hardly elite at defending the run. On the season, they were 28th in the league, averaging 4.8 yards a carry. Not good. Just not good. And considering the Lions also have the best run-blocking offensive line in the league, yeah, advantage Detroit. As for the passing game, Washington should have more success, but it is actually entirely going to rely on how they defend the run. Because despite the fact that Washington has good coverage linebackers and they have Marshawn Lattimore on the outside, who's a very good corner, it's really going to come down to, are they prepared for the play action or not? And if the Lions are running the ball all over them, the play action is going to be a lot more effective, which obviously would be a clear advantage. So if you can't stop the run, you're not going to be able to stop the pass because that's how the Lions are built as an offense. Detroit will very aggressively run the ball to set up the pass, so you have to stop the run early if you want to stop the pass from being very explosive. Now, if Washington is able to somewhat stop the Lions' run game and force them out of play action situations and into obvious passing situations, then they actually might be able to do okay. Now, I don't expect Washington to shut down the number one scoring offense by any means, but if you can maintain a bend, don't break philosophy, it'll go a long way. As for how the Commanders' offense stacks up against the Lions' battered defense, this is where it gets interesting. Because the Commanders cannot run the ball, at least not traditionally. Since their Week 14 bye week, including the wildcard round against the Bucs, Commanders running backs have averaged 2.94 yards per carry. 2.94. Abysmal. Any success they've had in the running game has been thanks to Jaden Daniels. In fact, their whole offense is basically, well, scratch that. The entire Commanders team is basically the flying Jaden Daniels. This team will go as far as he takes them, which, I mean, fortunate for them, he's taken them a very long way so far, but it really is just Jaden Daniels. That's obviously extreme, and if you're a Commanders fan watching this, I don't mean to insult your team, but you should be able to recognize that if Jaden Daniels was not having the spectacular rookie season that he was, you would not be here. Now, of course, he has help. His most valuable weapon in this conquest, Terry McLaurin, is having a very good season. McLaurin this season caught 82 passes on 117 targets for 1,096 receiving yards and a career-high 13 touchdowns. And he also added another 7 for 89 and a score against the Bucs in the wildcard round. He's also been very, very clutch on third and fourth down conversions, such as the aforementioned touchdown that came last week in a very clutch moment. Now, the Lions will have Terrion Arnold healthy for this game after an injury scare against the Vikings. Amik Robertson will also be on the other outside corner spot, fresh off of shutting down Justin Jefferson in that Week 18 game. That being said, don't expect these two to completely blank McLaurin by any means. A success for the Lions in this game would be holding McLaurin under 100 yards. That being said, there also will be a couple of deep shots, both to McLaurin and De'Ami Brown and the other various weapons the Commanders have. That is where the 8 league's interception leader and all-pro safety Kirby Joseph will have to be on top of his game. And then another big question for the Lions is how do they contain Daniels scrambling? Because Detroit, like most teams around the league, have struggled with mobile quarterbacks both this year and over the years because, well, I mean, it's a very dynamic threat to have to deal with. But it's especially a problem for the Lions because they play so much man coverage, which means their DBs have their backs turned to the play. So if a quarterback gets out of the pocket, it's a much bigger and more explosive play because the DBs are going to be slower to react. So are the Lions going to blitz more like they did against the Vikings? Maybe, I don't know. Are they going to just tell their defensive line to contain, which will give Daniels more time to throw, but will offer him fewer rushing lanes? I don't know. Will they use a spy? Will they bring Melifonwu down into the box to be that spy? I don't know. A hybrid approach? It's going to be very, very fascinating to see how Aaron Glenn tackles this problem, knowing that if the Lions are to win this game, and whether it's against the Eagles in the NFC Championship or someone in the Super Bowl, this game plan is going to have to be recycled because pretty much every QB remaining is mobile. Now, if you've made it this far in the video, you've basically heard me say that the Lions are the more talented team, the better team overall, and they have a lot of advantages, but Jaden Daniels, voodoo, magic, whatever, can basically negate all of that. That is the long and short of it. The Lions are the better team. There's a reason that at the time of recording this, they are 9.5-point favorites, which, while that line is a little aggressive, it does just speak purely to the talent disparity between the teams. But the Commanders have two key advantages that could wind up being Detroit's downfall. For one, the Commanders just know how to win, and they know how to win close games. Every single game since their Week 14 bye, including the Bucs wildcard win, it has been a win, first of all, but it has also been won on the final play from scrimmage. Now, could that devil magic wear off? Sure, it could, but we've also seen with Kansas City this year, and just over the years, that sometimes it doesn't. But for another, the Commanders have no pressure on them. They have no expectations. They are fully playing with house money. Coming into this season, they were not expected to be in the playoffs. They got to the playoffs. They were not favored in that game. They won. They have exceeded every expectation placed upon them. There is no risk for them in this game. If they lose, they kick up their feet and they say, hey, great season. This new era of Commanders football looks really promising. By contrast, the Lions have the weight of the world on their shoulders. Detroit is fully in Super Bowl or bust mode, which, as a Lions fan, I cannot believe that is a real sentence I just said. But with championship aspirations comes a lot of expectations, and it's tough to live up to them. So you might see in the early stages of this game especially, the Commanders are going to be the much looser team. They are going to be playing completely free. Again, they have nothing at risk here. There is no expectation on them. The Lions, meanwhile, they might look a little timid, a little bit tighter, in the early stages at least. They might not, but it is possible. But if there was a coach that I would expect to have his team fully prepared and not worried about that and not weighed down by expectations, it'd be Dan Campbell. Well, but overall, I would love to hear your thoughts down below, whether you're a Lions fan, a Commanders fan, a fan of a neutral team. Let me know what you're confident in, what you're nervous about, a score prediction, all that good stuff. So that's going to be it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. Enjoy the weekend of playoff action. I'll be back after this game, either Saturday night or Sunday morning, with an instant reaction to the game. Whether it goes positively or negatively for the Lions, I will either be happy or very, very sad. So make sure you subscribe so that you don't miss any future uploads. Drop a like on the video if you enjoyed it. Again, comment down below. I would love to hear your thoughts, and I'll see you guys next time. Cheers.